I'm Jordan Thomas, candidate number 6145, and I've observed Alex Walker as a 400 metre runner at athletics, and I've marked him down as an associative learner.
Okay, now you've just observed him. Can you comment any strengths and weaknesses you've observed, and any action plan you'd recommend for him?
Okay. So as an associative learner, Alex is already quite well drilled into certain aspects of the race and athletics itself, so this can be seen through his block position from what he put down this morning. Obviously, as a 400 metre runner, you start off on the bend, so the blocks are better set up as in a diagonal line, lined up towards the inside of his lane rather than the outside. Linking this on, he runs close to the bend, so that's the shortest distance around the track. And also his relaxed style is quite aesthetically pleasing as well. So his cadence, you can see for his head and shoulders are quite relaxed, so his trapezius aren't tightened up, and also he keeps his wrist low. Tactically, as he leans more into the autonomous stage of learning, he's starting to understand race plans a lot more. So when given a target of going through the first 225 and then the second and hopefully 26, which will give him a 51 second overall, he understands his change of pace. He also ignores moves made by competition on the inside and outside of his lane, so he selectively attends to his own race. And like I said, with the race plan, he kicked well around the bend, bringing him home into a positive split by at least a second. Fitness-wise, his muscular/explosive strength is quite obvious through his block starts. He has a perfect position where his ankles are comfortably seen to be dorsiflex when driving out of blocks. Vastus intermedialis and properly under tension, especially from his leading leg. Cardiovascular wise is very strong as well, seems to recover quite quickly from long distance reps, which can be seen today, and speed as well, split times are quite fast. His weaknesses, however, that's stopping him from breaking into his autonomous level would first be his drive phase. So obviously we already spoke about his block position, but because it's quite a continuous skill itself, the drive phase over the first 25 metres is quite poor, so he stands up straight away rather than driving down, and which means he's left behind after the first 25 metres. His contact time to the floor as well is quite short, as a result, like his strides are short as well, giving him a slower time across the race. And also his reaction time, which also then links in with his bad drive phase. Obviously he's left behind quite far. So obviously with the two skills in particular, weaknesses of drive and reaction, this links in with his tactics, how they can go bad for him. So there's a tendency to go out too quickly over the first 200 to catch up with those that have left him behind after the start. This also means that he doesn't relax down the back straight, so as can be seen especially in his trapezius, and also influenced from latissimus dorsi, that his arms are quite high up and under tension. And also the last 50 seems to tense up where he needs to be, is most relaxed, obviously keep the race efficient, coming home strong. Fitness weaknesses is speed endurance, which is probably the biggest aspect of especially for a 400 metre run that he needs to work on. His last 100 suffers dramatically, he comes home quite slowly in around 14 seconds. Dynamic flexibility is obviously the lack of range of movement, which is shown from his short strides, and then as a result of that, because dynamic is a prerequisite of the static flexibility, which needs to be looked at as well. So my weakness focuses will be his drive phase and his speed endurance. And then the goal for this is for him to run half a second faster after the 6 weeks. So relating this to a smart target kind of principle is quite specific, because obviously we want him to be running faster as a performance goal, so it's innate to him. He obviously wants to do better.
If he runs a bit quicker, will that enable him to get access to English schools?
Yeah. Okay, so it's certain qualifying times for his age group. So around so indoor nationals, he'd have to run around 51.5, and at the moment it's a 52 second run.
Okay.
So
good.
Get him into that.
What might be that goal? What that goal might help with in terms of the psychology aspect of it?
So overall, he'd be more confident in his own ability, and also when it comes to moderation, like today, you can be seen that he's quite a positive person anyway. Like he has a high knack personality.
Yeah.
Like he'll go back and forth to his coach and then ask what needs to be improved. and attributes failure or success to himself rather than external factors.
Yeah.
With the obviously, so with my coaching points with these two weaknesses, blocks wise, I'll be asking him to keep his head down, and when driving out the blocks, I would want to throw his arms up, which would be obviously attributed to his tricep brachii and eccentric contraction, as well as his bicep brachii when in the recovery stages of bringing his arm back. Again, we want him to keep focusing on dorsiflexion of his ankle, which would engage the soleus and then give a more powerful stamp down, obviously, when he's driving off from his gastrocnemius, and short strides for the first 10 to 20 metres, which allow him to pick up speed a lot quicker. A coaching points for his speed endurance would definitely be to be relaxed when he's on the last 100, because he has a tendency to, as the lactic begins to kick in even more, he tries to fight against it, which doesn't help. And so I do this by asking him to have a quicker hill recovery and maybe kick off the bend later rather than earlier, which he does. So the periodisation, I have a mesocycle of 6 weeks, and he'll be training 3 times a week, and then along with the intensity of each session will increase every 2 weeks, which will obviously facilitate the progressive overload and then the adaptations for which he'll get when obviously he improves through training. My tests will be done on the first, third and last week. So for my practices, we'll use the infield with figure of 8.
So what test will you do?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
What test would you do?
For the speed test, it'll be just a straight 30 metre sprint. Obviously time that and see how fast they are, and hopefully we'll see progressive improvements over the first, third and last week. And then for the speed endurance, I'll do a split 400 session where he'd have to sprint first 200, give him 30 seconds recovery after that for any lactic to allow to be kicked in, and then the last 200 should replicate his last 200, which will happen in a race. My practice is first use like the infield, so where the disc and shot put a phone and do a figure of 8 session. There's several reasons for this. Firstly, it replicates a fartlek style, so he'll be using 85% of his heart rate, and then also be working in the lactic acid systems. So as a result, as that over the weeks as they improve, then hopefully the enzyme and stuff will be able to work more with the lactic acid that's present within the muscles. The enzymes will become obviously more tolerant, and also reduces of impact injuries such as shin splints because it's a softer surface rather than running on the track, which can be hard surfaces, as well as using spikes because there's no rebound from the shoe itself. For the speed session, I'll be doing blocks of 60 metres, and then I'll have a speed go from 30 metres to the last 60, and hopefully from his start, from improvements of his start, we should be able to see obviously that time will decrease. Which will work mainly on the ATP PC system. So obviously if we can, as well as that, there'd be a chance of hopefully increasing the percentage of stores he has in the muscle. So if he could increase that by 10%, which gives him an extra second of ATP PC system work, then it would be a big significant improvement. For the first 2 weeks, he'll do 2 sets of 3 runs for the figure of 8s, which will lead into 6 runs, and then that would increase by a rep each week, so we go 2 to 3, 2 to 4, and then by the 5th and the 6th week, I'd give him like a maintenance phase, because obviously the last test will be coming up, so I want him to be fresh to perform perfectly at that. So that would be dropped back down to 2 to 3, 2 sets of 3 reps. The speed session's kind of the same. However, the first 4 weeks we'll have 4 sets of 3 runs. So that gives him 12 runs overall in the session, but then it would also be distributed, so I'd have 6 minutes recovery, and then within that recovery time, I'd be wanting to video him in each of the starts, and then let him watch it back, so it's kind of, let him watch it back, so the use of ergogenic aids of the camera, and then also he can go away, get a bit of imagery, see what we see him relating through his head, and hopefully do it better next time. Just want to go on to obviously like the different uses of equipment now and other.
How's that changed?
So over the years, like back in the 60s and 50s, the track was made out of cinder, and you'd have to dig out your own blocks. But now, like as we can see from the Olympics, the track's completely changed, made out of a Mondo surface, which is harder and gives back a lot more a lot more of the power that the athlete puts back into the tracks. There's more rebound strength, allowing them to go faster.
What do the distance runners think about those type of surfaces?
They don't really like them too much because they're hard and they'll be running over a long distance. They've got more chance of getting impact injuries such as shin splints and everything. So they prefer softer surfaces.
Usually in a lot of the heats and stuff, they don't wear spikes, do they?
No.
What do they wear?
Trainers.
Yeah. Okay. What about
yeah.
spike development, things like that? Like
Obviously. Back in the kit used to be like heavy baggy vests, but now also we've got Lycra, which is like skin tight, so it gives an athlete more like less resistance against the air when they're running. Also, like obviously because we've had the Olympics recently and Super Saturday that happened. It's where we won 3 gold medals within half an hour with Jess Ennis, Mo Farah and Greg Rutherford. Obviously that's boosted kids wanting to get into it massively because the atmosphere both at home and obviously at the stadium was massive.
What's been a drawback of that though? Because we've obviously talked about legacy.
Yeah.
Obviously had that loads of success.
Yeah.
And yet the Olympic Park is not available now. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's quite poor, to be honest. I mean, especially with like certain events that we could have held there easily with the English champs and stuff like English schools and nationals that could have been set in that stadium. Now is being taken away from us for football clubs to take over because obviously supposedly British Athletics doesn't have enough funding to keep it as.
So West Ham have been agreed, isn't it? They've said that they have like seats that come up and down.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's going to be a difference.
However, though, like with used to be the closest indoor areas for us for high performance would have been Lee Valley and Enfield or up at Windsor, but now Copthall Barnet have got their own indoor stadium now as well, which has given people a lot more chance facilities to be able to use them in Hertfordshire, again improving their performance rather than having to travel long distances, which at the time could have affected certain individuals if they didn't have money to travel that far. Also within Hertfordshire, all the schools within the county compete in an athletic season. Verulam of course, then Beaumont, Sandringham and other surrounding schools. And we also have access to tracks such as St Albans Athletics Club, Hearts Phoenix, Decorum and Tring and Hemel. And yeah, that's it.
Okay.